Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is great to be back, and we are here for a bit of fun at the beautiful Red Bull Ring out in Austria. And my name is Stephen Koenig from THT Productions, and welcome to the one, the only, the RaceFace.Pro iRacing GT3 Championship as we take on this 4.2 kilometer track. It's a bit warm out there, 24 degrees, and it is fantastic here in the Spielberg city. But that being said, keep an eye out on the clouds. It's a little bit cloudy out there. That may come into effect. A little bit of humidity as well that possibly can bring rain, but we're hoping over the mountainside the trees can keep it while the track stays beautifully warm here. And it's in for an absolute treat. A massive, massive welcome to you all out in the virtual grandstands. It's phenomenal to see you guys coming in and being part of the show. That being said, this is the very first season where we're trying a completely different format of racing. We're going to have drivers taking on technical rounds like this is round one, where the drivers will have back-to-back 30-minute races. Heat 1, Heat 2. But the second heat, we're going to have the top 5 inverted, and that is going to change things up. We will, as the course of the season goes, land up going and swapping out with different inversions, how many inversions, plus how long all the racing goes on for. We've got enduros, we've got mini enduros, we've got so much happening this season that's got everyone super excited. And after having a grading, all the drivers are in for a treat, getting put into the different classes that they are deemed fast enough to be in. And well, we've got an influx of brand spanking new drivers coming from across the world, from the UK, from America, and back home in the beautiful city of South Africa. And we cannot forget our Germans. But that being said, let's take a look at qualifying. This is underway because we have got something a little bit different for our qualifying, and that is drivers going around at the exact same time as where they want to be. So this is not a closed qualifying. This is a open qualifying for drivers. They're going to have to work out how much are they going to push, how far are they willing to go, and that is going to make life a little bit more interesting to see who stands at the top and moves forward. But with that being said, let's take a look at some of the cars out here, because first place at the moment overall is the W2W Racing Blue George Rez, who's out in first place. And I've got to say, a proper run, being a new driver to the sim, well, new driver to the category, but is out there. W2W coming in and showing exactly how much he's in for a fight, all the way out from Bolivia. So one to keep an eye out. Steven Vessels puts himself in first place, and the Concrete Racing are looking to be in for full charge. I gotta say, really looking forward to seeing how they do it, because it's a team that's been making waves overseas, trying to be part of some of the biggest racing names you can get. Always phenomenal to have an influx of drivers, but we have got Pro and Pro-Am. We've got the two different classes there. This is open qualifying, and drivers are going to have to be dealing with it. So, as we take a look, Steven Vessels leads out the charge. George runs in second place. Sergei Sarkov, back from Lithuania. He's in for that absolute charge in the brand new Aston Martin, and hoping for it to make a big difference this time around. Werner Skuman puts himself into second place in the Marlboro colours as he's out there in the mighty Porsche 992 GT3. I had to think about that one. That's a bit frightening. Werner Skuman hoping to really make it work out in his favour. Werner Swart on the return with the likes of his Black Panther in the beautiful BMW. Jason Krinkers switches out the Mustang, returns with the Aston Martin all the way out from Germany. Keep an eye on the chap. He really knows how to put the hammer down and where it's going to work out for him. The Rapid Panthers Racing looking to be at the top of the charge. Daniel Gilding is out in 7th place, but first we've got Tim Penny for Prestanda Nomad Also, new driver out there, but you'll note there is his teammate that's going to be pulling them along, choosing a Chevrolet over the Ferrari 296 to make it work in their way. So good to see them out there. Out on the grid, we've also got Katleko Macaulay, who is brand new to the league and is in first of the pros, sitting in that top 10, 9th place. And Malcolm Pringle chasing down for the Slowpoke Racing in likes of 11th place. Paul Herber, a little bit further back on his return. He is out there in the Mercedes to really make it work. Jan Engelbrecht, Joshua Syme, a little bit further down for the Snails Pace Racing team. Jakob van der Lift, Seb Guest, also trying to make a big impact here. There's quite a few drivers looking to really fire their way up through the order and seeing where it can all turn out. I mean, this is going to be a rather exciting run, and we've got a multitude of drivers looking to really make it work. But at the moment, 129.139 from George of the W2W Racing Blue stands out above the charts and hoping for it to work out in his favor. So this is going to be an interesting time to see how hard is he going to really push, and is he going to have contention? Because Steven Vessel's 128.88 puts himself up into first place. The Ferrari, the CSA Porsche, well, in the Ferrari, just to make things even more complicated, is looking to really put his way up in the order and show can't be one to be slacking off during the course of the race. So many of the drivers will be looking to stand on top and really make it work. Now, I have to say one thing. We've got different championships happening here at RaceFace.Pro. Now in the virtual grandstands, we do see you out there. We got Tolly Blondo. Good luck to everyone. Very phenomenal to see you. We got Design Mark 1 saying, Sean Symes, please have my babies, which is always a beautiful thing to think about. And Sean, you owe an answer. But as we've got all the cars making their way through, we've also got a new driver up into the top 10. It's Jonas Constantin out from Romania. First of our Pro-Ams with Matthew J. Luke from America chasing him down, hoping to make it work out in his favor. Couple of drivers looking to push the mark. 129 is where majority would be sitting at low fuel, but there's quite a few that decide to go with a race fuel, getting a 130 as their go-ahead times, and hoping that that's going to make the difference to lead them through the field. They will be starting on the safety car, and it is going to be a proper run. However, there's a couple of minor points we have to lean on to, because I do believe we've got some very interesting times as well. There's always some interesting names that pop up, and there's a very good nickname that's actually been popped up for Steven Vessels, who is actually called a Stiffen Whistle, who is out there. So Stiffen Whistle in first place. I wonder if he's whistling a tune behind the steering wheel as he tries to keep that 128.8 to leave on the front top, but the CSA colours are going to ride high and whistle their way through. So good luck, Stephen. And Stefan, I hope you have a good one out there. That's always phenomenal to see how team names come out of nowhere. You don't know where it's coming from, but until you eventually hear it, and he's not going to hear it now, he's going to hear it after the broadcast. But Jens van Rensburg out on the circuit for the Slowpoke Racing team. He's out in the Acura NSX. We saw last season with Byron Mitchell leading out with the Acura NSX, having some really good runs, and it was ensuring that he was in the top run of the order. So, I mean, this is just a tough time out there. But we do have a couple of drivers who are not on circuit. Willem Buerta trying to put a time out on the board. The RDSA driver in a Mustang this time around. Had great run in previous seasons. Now he's trying to make it all work out in his favor. This is going to be his first lap to put himself onto the podium board. Or put a time on the board. He does come across the line. Unfortunately, was validated. So he has to go around yet again. So Willem Buerta, just loses the rear into turn 1 here at Red Bull. Jaco Kutzer out on track. Still needing to put a time on the board. Yuppie Simons and Noah Hendricks, who's out there for the asymmetric racing team, now looking to also get a time on the board. We are sitting with a huge field joining us here tonight. And it is going to be a wild, wild one. Remember, it is key to get the fastest lap time. And this is something we do want to talk about, because the fastest lap time will land up getting a point for their lap. So even when you're having a bad time, you have got 1 point extra in the bag for your fastest lap in between the whole field. I mean, that's going to be a good time for it. But take a look over to our virtual grandstands. Well, qualifying is nearly done, and we've got to say beautiful green and gold, proudly SA colors in there for Stephen Wessels and or Stephen Vessels. Yes, I have to say, I guys love the homage to the beauty of our South African teams. And can't see the Sean Symes name. Is he here too far in front? So Sean Symes is actually in 15th position. He's currently sitting in pit lane and needing a little bit of work there. So down the order from where he wanted to be, but he's hoping to really put himself up a little bit further up. But I have to point out that we got Jonas, who is a Pro-Am, and well, he's sitting in 3rd overall. Just getting a bit of information here from Yuppie Simon saying, unfortunately, his car having a bit of a problem here tonight and will have to retire it. The team retiring the car, which is quite unfortunate for Yuppie. He was looking to have a stellar run, but is going to be still showing support for his team out there. Going to put some good times out there. Another new name to the grid, Daniel Gilding, out on the circuit. He's hoping to make some huge waves here tonight, all the way out from England in the Ferrari, and teaming up with his teammate, actually in a Chevrolet. Werner Skuman down into 6th position, still hunting for the championship. Werner Swart on the pace with Jacques Ever, who's come from racing WSR on a Monday to come race on a Tuesday here at RaceFace.Pro. Hopefully, no power failures coming in his wake, as we do get the next fastest lap time. Comes from likes of George Reyes, a 128.7 to steal first place away from Stephen Vessels, and we'll have to wait out yet again. Jonas sits in 1st place. Malcolm Pringle hoping to put the impact here. He lies in 4th. Best time was a 129.7 on his last lap. Trying to make it work out, as they've only got a couple of seconds left to put their time on the board. Liam Swinburne comes across the line. He is riding in the Aston Martin, the Race Against Cancer livery. He is running in 14th position, trying to keep ahead of his own team out there, the likes of Yanaman Price and Cameron de Bastos. Jason Krinkers down in 17th position, will be on a stellar run. Remember, out there in the Mustang previously, switching over to the Aston Martin, which has just come out here in the world of iRacing, and looking to make it work out in his favor. Tim Penny lying down in 20th, trying to put a time onto the board, but not many were able to do it as time ticks over. As time ticks over, it's time to go racing, folks, and it is George Reyes out in 1st place, who will have Stephen Vessels lining up in 2nd. Mr. Whistle himself will be trying to contend with that fight, and hopefully will be able to really move through the order. However, they got a bit of work as Jonas Konstantin, Malcolm Pringle, Daniel Gilding, Werner Skuman, Werner Swart, Jacques Ever, along with Danny Herber, Sergei Stonkov, Matthew J. Luke, and Jaco van der Lith a little bit further down in 12th. We've got Jean Jans van Rensburg in 13th with Liam Swinburne, Kakleko McCauley, Ben England, Jason Krinkers, Joshua Syme, Etienne Swan, Tim Penny, W.J. Wilson, Paul Herber, along with Johan Engelbrecht and Arno Kraus, rounding out in 24th. 25th place is Seb Guest, along with Cameron de Bastos, Doe Herber, Janneman Price, Noah Hendricks, Craig Starkey, along with Sean Syme, Stephen Cakebread, Quinton Costa, Robbie Teens, Dina Machai, and Eugene Berryman in 36th position. And rounding out the back of the grid, William Burta, along with Jaco Kutzer, and unfortunately a non-starter for the CSA driver, Yuppie Simons, who will be, unfortunately, missing out round 1. Now, to that to be said, 2 heats is what we're dealing with. 2 30-minute heats. The drivers are going to have to contend with that. No pit stops, and it's going to be an outright fight to the line. And not to forget, this is a championship of 2 different classes, Pro and Pro-Am, looking to find it out. Taking a look at a couple of drivers out there, we got Suffix going and saying he is supporting Sean Symes. We have also got the likes of Design Mark 1 and Chris DeSantos going and saying how's it out from the pits. Rumor has it that Chris DeSantos may be joining us in the field as well at some point. I'm really looking forward to seeing that because, well, if anyone doesn't know, Mr. Santos is actually an incredibly quick driver of the past. Well, as we get ready to go, drivers starting to make their way through. This is all going to be close racing. Pro and Pro-Am for the very first time in this format. We'll be fighting out. And we've got drivers versing drivers they've never ran into before. Likes of George Heures and Steven Vessels never crossed swords. The W2W Racing is hoping to really make an impact here. Jonas Constantine, though, is definitely the one to keep an eye out for. First place in the Pro-Am, I've got to say. Jonas going and putting himself right in the top there is quite exciting. But at the same time, it is a really, really heavy show of what he can do. As we are trying to develop these cars to make them work, sometimes we tend to have little flutters. For some peculiar reason, we'll try and resolve as we go on. But sharp end of the field. George Heures, Steven Vessels looking to fight it out. William Buerter, Matthew J. Luke going to be starting from pit lane. Dino Achai a little bit further down from where he wanted to be. And that's going to be a hard fought fight. So, as our safety car makes its way around the Porsche, I do think it is a little bit of the CPO taking a bit of a hit at the moment. Trying to resolve as much as possible and try and get that working out in our favor. It's amazing. You never know it goes wrong until the lights get ready to go and start. Come on, CPU. Hold together. Don't explode now. Little hamster on the hamster wheel needs to keep moving as we want to see the action kick off a line. George Heures and Steven Vessels lining up side by side. Jonas and Malcolm Pringle weaving about in the second row, hoping to get the jump off a line as they head into the double right. First right, as they then proceed hard on the brakes and in through the last final right-hander. And away we go. Green flag. And what a run. George Heures off to a flying start. Steven Vessels caught out and now trying to make his way and holding into third place. He does get overtaken by the BMW up on the inside. Jonas does go around the outside to ensure he holds it back. And Malcolm Pringle joins in for the fight. Switches across the front of the nose. Jonas down into fourth place. Daniel Gilding is hanging on the back. But take a look at Werner Skuman and Swart, along with Jacques Ever, trying to figure out their way through this race, as it's nose to tail for the start. But the W2W Ferrari ducked and gone clean out of this race. Even trying to whistle his way around with that V6 turbocharged Ferrari. As Jonas looking around the outside, it causes a little bit of Constantine effect. Malcolm Pringle tries to capitalize on the moment. Unfortunately lost out as Werner Skuman switches up, gets on the inside, and now around the outside to keep it all together. Can he bring it back into third gear? Side by side they go, but it does look like Malcolm Pringle ultimately will have the drive coming out, and it is a wheel in the dirt for Jonas as he pulls his way through. Malcolm Pringle drops down into fifth place. Daniel Gilding in the likes of fifth, well, sixth in overall. And 5th in class, Daniel holding on, trying to see where it can work out in his favor. Werner Swart keeping the pressure on the back of him. The Altered Carbon Racing is not going to back out. He's got Jacques Ever in the mighty Mustang, trying to make a little bit of a move, but up top, bit of carnage going on. Werner Schumann and Jonas, door to door, wheel to wheel, and that is unfortunate contact, and the Porsche getting abruptly hurt on that, kills off the straight line, and there they come. Jonas, Malcolm, Daniel, all getting past Werner Schumann, and it does look like it's not over yet. Werner Swart dives for the inside line, late on the braking for Daniel Gilding as they go up into turn 3. Keeping the power on the drivers, just doing everything they can to fight it out. A little bit further down, we have got the likes of Kokleko McCarley trying to keep the pressure as he battles his way out. 2nd in the Pro-Am class, needing to focus on it. He's got Liam Swinburne trying to chase him down right behind. So there is an absolute brawl going on in front of him, and we can see side-by-side battles as Werner Schumann continues to dig his nose in to the back of Malcolm Pringle. Werner Swart, Jacques Everett all joining into the party. Sergei Sarkov getting past with the Aston Martin as he's not holding back at the moment, and the drivers going 2 to 3 cars wide each and every time. This is 30 minutes of pure out-and-out racing that the drivers have to contend with to make it work out in their favor, and it is nose to tail on the way through. Danny Herbert onto the back of the NSX of likes of Van Rensburg as it's going down. This is all about keeping the train together, seeing how far you can go. We do have unfortunate problems coming in, and it looks like Jellerman Price, he takes evasive maneuvers going around one of the Porsches, and that, I think, would have been Craig Starkey that landed up. Yes, it was Craig. Was it Craig? No, it wasn't. It wasn't Craig's. That was there. One of our Porsches landed up the wrong way, and that was Eugene Berryman going and turning. I mean, this is going to be a monster fight for them. At the moment, however, we are seeing a bit of a gap opening up for our leader, Reyes, to keep ahead of Steven Vessels. And Jonas sitting in that 3rd place, but not comfortable, as Daniel Gilding looks up on the inside. They got Malcolm Pringle and Werner Schumann coming in for the brawl. Late on the apex for the likes of Werner Schumann as he tries to take the drive on Malcolm Pringle. Daniel Gilding goes out wide, and Jonas going and putting his BM firmly in the middle of the battle and is turning this into a tough time. Daniel goes up on the inside. He's going to try and get the advantage into the right-hander. It's going 4 cars wide. No, that changes to 3. Daniel up on the inside, battles it out against Jonas, and he spins it. He's gone. Daniel is gone. Werner Schumann capitalizes as we do see Jonas dropping down the order. A little bit of door-to-door contact has changed it all. Daniel's still able to go, but landed up with a bit of pain on his car. Late on the brakes, goes for the likes of Werner Swart, and loses the rear and loses a bit of positions, and you can see slowly tapering down as he tries to get any form of drive back. Danny Herbert stuck in the middle of a fight here, not going to be too comfortable, needs to try and figure out what is going to be his best moment. Locking on the brakes as he does have the likes of the Altered Carbon of Werner Swart go up on the inside, 3 wide. Didn't work out in his favor, but now has got Liam Swinburne for a bit of company. The Aston Martins on the chase as they fight their way through. But this is incredible action for the start of the race, folks. This is 30 minutes, and it is all turning into a wild, wild race. Malcolm Pringle for the Slowpoke Racing on the back of Werner Schumann, who is sporting a little bit of damage on his car. A little bit further back is Sergei Sarkov trying to battle it out against Jonas. And we've got Jacques Ever dives for the inside line with the Mustang. He's not able to get that pass on. The 2 brawling V8s will now chase down the straight 6 turbocharge of the likes of the BMW just ahead. Late on the anchors is what's needed here. And immediately Sergei gets ahead of the likes of Jacques Ever. Jacques falls down. He goes for the defense and has Jason Krinkus up on the inside. And this is where life is going to change. Jonas goes for the inside line, heading towards turn 1. Everyone's got the toe, chasing their way through. late on the brakes, and only just did the likes of Jacques Heures able to keep it on circuit, not to get a track cut. Now, they're only allowed 16 X's. In other words, you're only allowed 16 incident points. Otherwise, you will land up getting a drive-through penalty. And already see damage to the front of Liam Swinburne's car as he's trying to keep himself going. Danny Herbert up against WJ Wilson, who continues on his drive to try and figure out what is going to work out. Kakaleko Makali in second place now fights out against Paul Herbert, who is one of our pro drivers looking to try and cleanly pass the BMW and join up the fight ahead. Noah Hendricks, who's fought his way from the back, is trying to make his climb. And third place of our pro-am, Joshua Syme, out there for the Sales Pace Racing team and continuing to keep the pressure on in the Aston Martin. Has got the likes of Ben England trying to chase him down. Continuous fights and brawls all the way through, and so many drivers battling to keep themselves on circuit to force that little bit more of a chase as we start closing up the time. We haven't even had 10 minutes yet, and we've had a variety of action. Cameron Bastos up into 22nd position, chasing down Seb Guess as they continue on. So, amazing racing for the start, but no answer for the likes of George Rez, continuing to open up that pace. Really, the W Racing Blue continues to make a dominating run. Steven Vessels trying to whistle his move up, and I mean, this is going to be a proper race for him to try and close up the gap. He's going to have to whistle his tune the whole way. Werner Skuman and Malcolm Pringle trying to fight their way around the circuit, and we're getting further reports coming in from the likes of Eduardo saying justice for Daniel coming in. Not quite sure for that one, but we got Yuppie Simon supporting his teammates, his fellow CSA driver Stephen Whistle Vessels, as he rides in that second place. But a fight happening on further back is still going and raging on. This is for 6th place, folks, in class and overall, and it's Jacques Heures fighting against Jason Krinkers, the German, getting the better run out of the corner. Will have the advantage into the right-hander. This is going to force Jacques Heures stuck on the wrong line, and likes of Van Rensburg sneaks in with the Acura NSX, tries to get it all done. Jacques Heures closes the nose onto the front of Werner Skuman, all going out a little bit wide. I mean, this is going to be a wild one, because no matter where you look in this race, there is fights up and down through the field with no one giving an inch. Everyone trying to give it everything they got and seeing how far they can run. Werner Swart trying to fight it out. He's got Jonas battling out there, and Jonas is leading out the Pro-Ams, but starting to slide down more and more each and every lap. It's not working out in his favor. Oh, we got a turnaround, and unfortunately, that was in front of Liam Swinburne. But who is the BMW? That's right there. As we do see Paul Herbert landed up with the same problem, and that was Jaco van der Lith that actually went round and round and round. So Jaco van der Lith, Swinburne, and Lysa Paul Herbert, unfortunately, into turn 3, not having an easy time and fall down the order as they try and get themselves back and going. Gotta say, good thing that the tires have been updated here in iRacing, as they're a little bit more forgiving for the spins. You can now cool them down a little bit easier as WJ Wilson goes off circuit, gets overtaken by Cameron Bastos, Ben England, Joshua Syme as they continue on the chart. So drivers still trying to pick their way up through the race. And WJ Wilson not going to back down at the moment. He's got Seb Guest on to the side of him, and Seb's not going to back. The Snails Pace Racing goes out wide, very, very wide. That's going to give the position to Wilson. Tries to go for the cutback, loses out that little bit of time, and does land up with Jaco van der Lith in the tow, pulling himself along, trying to give it that little bit more. Drivers coming into the pits. We've got the likes. That seems to be likes of Paul Herbert. Dives into pit lane for a bit of a checkup. Liam Swinburne's going to carry on out there. Honor Kraus is going to be charging him down. Tim Penny on his way through. Wants to get the climb. He's fallen down 2 positions in class from the start and 3 positions overall. But he's looking to try and make a big impact yet again as drivers try to continue on their race. Paul Heures going and gets himself back out on the circuit. Wonderful to see, joined up by his brother Do Heures for the team, both in those mighty AMGs, looking to make it work out in their favor. A little further back, Quinton Costa making his in, as we have got a couple of drive-throughs. Etienne Swart and Dino Machai getting drive-throughs, and that is for a number of incidents that will drop them down the order. So not a race that they want to have. Etienne Swart, brother of Werner Swart, will be kicking himself ever so slightly now, as they'll have to go through the drive-through and lose out that little bit of time. He's going to be joined by Dino Machai, and remember, it's 16 X's that is going to have happened, and after 16 you got further issues. So after that it's 11, and you keep going down until you will land up with race control saying goodbye, thanks for the evening. So the Slowpoke Racing, Dino Machai dives into pit lane along with Swart to serve their drive-through. So now that the race is sort of calming down, I can't say it really is, as we do have Werner Skuman and Malcolm Pringle. They still chasing each other. Sergei Sarkov is right there in the mix, and Jans van Rensburg onto the back of Jacques Evans. Currently George Reyes, the W2W Racing, in first place with Stephen Whistle Vessels in holds third for the Pandacity in our pro class. As Constantine lies in first place of our pro-ams, with the likes of Kaklek McCarley, Joshua Syme running in third place on the run. And Joshua hoping to get the pass on. The UK driver wants to get past the likes of Kakleko out there in the down and wanting to be a bit more in the fight. But we do get a drive-through penalty. Comes in Jonas Consti getting a drive-through penalty, and that is going to change up the fight severely, because Kakleko and Joshua will inherit first and second place. Ben England might be close enough to go for third place, but that is entirely changing. Joshua, our previous champion in Pro-Am, has the chance to fight for the top running one. This is going to be a charge through, as we do see Noah Hendricks coming out of pit lane. He will be a bit of laps down and focusing on what he needs to do. Robbie Teens landing up down the run as well, as he tries to make up a bit of time. Fortunately, Robbie Teens got to be rather careful on his drive. The nuts and bolts driver has been very, very consistent throughout the years, but it is a very tight field. 39 cars were to start this race. 37 have so far run the race. George Reyes going and holding that top spot. Will continue on his drive, runs out a little bit wide there onto the fringes. Stephen Vessels goes out even further, and man, that's a bit on the big side there, Mr. Whistle. Robbie Teens, unfortunately, drive-through penalty incurred for him as he loses out that little bit of time. So drivers starting to feel those track limits coming into play. Sarkov and Malcolm Pringle also stretching their legs as Werner Skuman dives into pit lane. So Werner Skuman into pit lane, trying to get himself sorted out, and that is once again going to change how this race turns on its head. We've got 30-minute races back to back. Drivers don't necessarily have to do a pit stop unless they run into any issues. Jesse Krinkers and Jacques Evans continue on their charge, along with Van Rensburg on the back of him. Now, Jans van Rensburg comes in from Oval Racing, knows how to keep nose to tail with the drivers and put just enough pressure on Jacques Evans. But Jason Krinkers, let's not forget, is a driver that came first in the South African League, absolutely showed his might in a Mustang that people looked down on, and landed up fighting out for the post and hopes to work out again. Werner Skuman out of pit lane. He is now firmly side by side with Ben England as he tries to go late for the brakes. Ben England taking a little bit of a cautious approach, slows down a little bit earlier, gets Skuman to come on by. He knows that at the moment he's third in class, so he doesn't have to worry as much as the rest. Okay, I've got a little bit of breathing room here. I can push when I need to push. Otherwise, I'm going to focus on my drive and see where it all goes. Quick dip into the dirt. Ben England trying to keep ahead of Jaco van der Lip, who's 14th in the Pro Division. Tim Penny down in 15th in the Pro Division will be following suit, but 4th place and a good distance away from Ben England. 7 seconds is on across from Team Tryhard, and I've got to say, whoever did the colours for Team Tryhard, well done, going and adding a little bit of the old school BMW flair to the whole story. However, we are getting warnings. Jason Krinkers is right there on the cusp of going and getting a drive-through penalty. We did see that yellow coming up, and that does show, hang on, there's a problem. We got to get going, but we have got reports of an incident. This is actually the likes of Quinton Costa, who is racing in VR, goes out very, very wide, and pulls off circuit, landed up with a problem there, and Quinton unfortunately had a bit of an issue. The entirety of the field coming on by, he had to just sit out and wait for quite some time. Not ideal circumstances for him on his return to the world of sim racing, but incidents do happen and may cause a little bit of a problem. Werner Skuman continues on his drive and will be really keeping the Cameron de Bastos as they make their way through. So, in overall positioning at the moment, we keep an eye on 15th and 14th, but there is still something happening. Danny Herber lands up with a drive-through penalty and falls out of that top 10. And that promotes up a couple of drivers, including our 2 Pro-Am drivers, Kaklejo and Joshua, who will continue on their fight. So drivers starting to feel the pain at the moment. Trying to keep a little bit out with Werner Skuman running up ahead, but our Pro-Am field is still lights ablaze as drivers continue on the movement. As we do get a little bit of information here, Josh, likes of Krinkers, landing up with a bit of a problem. See what happens. Had a little contact up against the Acura, and unfortunately that spun him around. He does try and swing it back, but not to get his tail reversed into the wall. That is very, very well done, but unfortunately does drop him down the order, and gonna be thinking and scratching his head on that one. That is good. So Krinkers, the German, now needing to make a little bit more of a climb back through the order, plus has a drive-through penalty added on for those incident points. Not an ideal time for them, but drivers are needing to be a little bit more aware of these incident points because it's a lot closer to what the likes of the iRacing service actually runs. So it's going to be a huge, huge time. That being said, Stephen Whistles has been told, make that turbo whistle, because you really need to get out of there, as he's 4 seconds off the back of George Reyes up ahead, but he is 15 seconds ahead. That's going to make things rather difficult, and much like the old ad of when you're asking for 36, well, the 26 is going and moving forward. Sergei Sarkov has got Pringle, keeping the pressure on him, trying to figure out where can they get the drive to stay their way at the top. Jacques Ever holding 5th position with Jean Janssen van Rensburg after unfortunately having that little bit of contact with the likes of Krinkers. Now needs to refocus, reevaluate, and see what's going on. There will be a little bit of damage to the front of his car, and that will slow him down in the straight line. Werner Swan in 7th position. Gilding down in 8th. Got the likes of Kaklejo leads out the charge. Remember, this is a big impact for the drivers as it's 2 heats back to back, but also the which means Sharks Ever, Malcolm Pringle, Sergei Sarkov, Steven Vessels, and George Reyes will be reversed come here too, and that might change everything as we do get reports of Jonas Constantine, unfortunately running into a bit of a problem. This is into turn 1. Tries to get it all pinpoint perfect over the curb, and that was him off circuit, and looks like came to a stop and then a restart. So something went on with the car that unfortunately threw him down even further from a driver that has gone towards the top, is unfortunately falling down the order in the race. So, I mean, this is always going to be a nightmare of a race for some, but a really fun race with others. So, with close racing, that being said, Sergei Starkov still leads out and hopes to make it run that little bit further, hoping to really push himself that little bit forward. And we're getting asked from the grandstands that if the stream seems a little bit glitchy out there, well, taking a look, I don't see any glitches, but please let me know if there runs into a bit of difficulty as we go. We've got Tim on the cameras, we got likes of Jim, who's out there on the circuit to call out the racing action to us. Malcolm Pringle running out a bit. And I do see where it's getting a bit glitchy. So, try and adjust that to see what is happening. And try and calibrate it just a little bit. So, apologies folks. We are trying to fix as we go. And hopefully that will fix it a little bit more. We'll keep an eye on it. Thank you very much to all those that have reported. Should have solved the issue there. As we take a look to the battle of Van Rensburg and Jacques Evers side by side as they battle their way through. And it is still going to be a wild one. John Van Rensburg and Jacques Evers continues to fight it out, and going to be a proper monster battle between them. And likes of John Van Rensburg getting the leg up ahead after the Mustang, but continues on to battle, continues on to charge, and it will be out there fighting tooth and nail. And they cannot forget, right on the back of them, Werner Swart in the BMW will continue to keep a brutal charge and hope to make a big impact here. I mean, this is still a very, very tight race up towards our top 5, and we've got to talk about Kaklerko currently leads out the likes of our Pro-Ams. Unfortunately, Werner Skuman getting a drive-through penalty and will fall even further down the order, but Joshua Symes, second place, has got WJ Wilson and Werner Skuman ahead of him. And hopefully the fix. So please do let me know if the fix has worked. I'm getting reports that it possibly has. And let's see how it's going to work. From my side, I can see it hanging in there. It hasn't exploded yet. Right. That's good. Happy to see that. Rowan van der Walt, also out there in the virtual grandstands, is definitely a driver that you want to chat to on an ACC night as they fight. He fights his way through. And thank you very much, Yippee Simons, going and giving a little bit of a thumbs up with a bit of a hair going on there. Maybe you just got to get a bit of a whistle. And Chris Santos as well. Thank you very much, guys, for just getting that shout out there. And I hope that we can get on top of this stuff. Yeah, unfortunately, some little niggles come through. Less than 5 minutes to go in this race. Werner Skuman to serve a drive-through penalty will be going and kicking himself as he drops into the pits and will be saying, well, not quite what he had planned here as they fight their way through. We do see WJ Wilson comes off to the side. Well, something's gone on with him and returns to pit. So there's a number of cars that dived into pit lane that is not going to be a fan out there, and unfortunately is out of the running of this race. WJ Wilson, likes of Jason Kriegers, Matthew J. Luke, Seb Guest, Yako Kutsa, all landing out with a bit of a problem and filing into pit lane. So it's George Reyes out in the front as they continue on the charge. And Steven Vessels trying to chase him down in second place. Malcolm Pringle in third place. Sergei Sarkov, long as the jocks ever. John van Rensburg, Werner Swart, Kakleko Makali, and Joshua Syme continues to keep the pressure on at the moment as they try and fight their way through. Stephen Cakebreed coming out pit lane along with Paul Huber. Leon Swinburne as well as they rejoin the race at the moment. And they hope to try and just get that little bit more pace out on the circuit. As we continue to tackle on with this race. 27 minutes completed and drivers still putting in the effort, hoping to make it work out in their favor and see where it's all going to launch out. However, it's going to be a tough time out there. Kokleko up into the top 10. Joshua Syme now seeing an opportunity, tries to close up right behind Werner Swart, who is a lap down, but may be able to pull him along just that little bit further to get that little bit more pace and to ensure back at the sharp end of the field. So some tough times out there, not a lot of time for the drivers, as we will be seeing a number of drivers hoping to push themselves just that little bit more. However, Mr. Whistle himself will be getting notified. Hey, listen, you got to put the Hammond down of note, as George has opened up that gap even further now to try and stay at the sharp end of the field, and even further looks to try and take the first checkered flag of the win. And likes of Van Rensburg gets a drive-through penalty. Not going to work out. I mean, this is tough racing indeed for many of our drivers who are trying their best luck to move forward. And unfortunately, a number of them starting to feel the pain. Malcolm Pringle still holds his spot as Sergei Sarkov trying to make up a bit of time. They have to get round the Aston Martin of the Team Slowpokes down the order. That is the 23rd position. Sorry, that would be the 33rd. Is that 33rd? Just trying to see which of the drivers that Sergei's trying to get past, and well, in the true South African colours, but Sergei getting that pass without too much of an issue. Continues on the momentum. Daniel Gilding, we haven't spoken about for a long time, as he now has crept up ahead of Cameron de Bastos and now looks to open up the gap. Van Rensburg getting a drive through. Liam Swinburne with a drive through, and those black flags starting to be a big impact. And it is going to be a wild run for every single one of these drivers to make an impact here. Cameron de Bastos is just trying to keep open a gap. He's currently holding the top 10, but has got Ben England, a Pro-Am driver, chasing down the back of him, who is currently holding third place and looking to try and make the impact as he wants that little bit of a climb. However it goes, it's not going to be enough, because on the final lap is our leader for Heat 1 tonight. It is George Reyes, who looks to take the first victory in this 30-minute race, Heat 1, and will be starting 5th come Heat 2. We do have a number of drivers. Jacques Ever goes into pit lane. Werner Swart goes into pit lane. Sergei Sarkov goes to the pit lane. And, I mean, this is just going to be it. Unfortunately, the circuit itself is very, very picky on its track limits, and a lot of drivers have been feeling it during the course of this race. However, here comes George Reyes. The W2W on the very maiden victory comes across the line, and will take victory in Heat 1. Steven Vessels will come across the line in second place, whistling the tune, and will be happy for that. Sergei Sarkov holds on to third. He's got enough of a gap to pull away from Jacques Sever and will be smiling ear to ear on the run. Jacques Sever currently holding on to fourth place, has got Werner Swart keeping the pressure on as they head in through the double right-hander. The Mustang got some incredible long-range power. The top end going to work out in his favor here. Gets right across the line. Jacques Sever's happy. He finishes up in fourth place. Werner Swart's just behind him. Malcolm Pringle will come across the line. And first place of our Pro-Am, Katlego Makali, will take the victory with Joshua Syme, the defending champion, on the back foot. Will finish up in second place. Ben England comes across in third place behind his teammates and will be making a bit of an impact here. He wants that to happen, as we do see Jakob van der Lift coming across the line. Likes of Jean Jans van Rensburg will come across the line, but does have that drive-through that will need to be served. On across comes across Paul Gerber with a phenomenal climb of 9 positions. Daniel Gilding, unfortunately, down 9 positions. Tim Penny comes across the line to have a bit of fun with Daniel, 2 teammates together. Stephen Catebread up 16 positions from where he started. So this has turned things completely on its head, and what a great run thus far from our drivers as they look to make the impact here tonight. I mean, this is just phenomenal racing. I have to say, I'm really looking forward to how this is all going to move forward and how the drivers are going to handle moving up through the order. I mean, this is going to be tough. This is going to be a tough race. For me and the drivers, it's what do we have to do to stay at the top? What do we have to do to fight it out to be number one? Now, with that being said, if you just joined us, a massive welcome to you all. Welcome to Austria. Welcome to round 1 of the RaceFace.Pro iRacing GT3 Championship. And with a good mix of cars and also unique drivers, the introduction of unique cars like the Aston Martin coming into play. But the format changes because, ladies and gentlemen, we're heading into the top 5 being inverted. That means open cars. To take you through the season, we have got a variety of different races that are happening. There's going to be putting drivers on the back foot, seeing who is going to be able to climb their way up through the order here in RaceFace.Pro. Between 45-minute races, 80 and 95 minutes as the final race, plus these head-to-head heat racing. It includes drivers needing to think out the box with pit stops, those that are wanting to really fight through and put their way to the top, but many of the drivers thinking, what is going to be the main game plan here? How far can they go? Because first place is 75 points in the championship. But I'm also going to mention, this is the very first time in the iRacing side that we also have a team championship. You heard me right. A team championship to go and see who's going to be leading out the top. So after this entire season, we're going to be looking at a team championship as well. And that is going to be a big run to see who's standing at the top and how they are going to move forward in this race. But as drivers start to get themselves ready for the race, seeing what they need to do to be at the top end of the order. And remember, there is a single point for those that manage to qualify the highest, getting that fastest lap time. So, as we get ready to move on to the race, we hoping for drivers to complete their warm-up runs. We, at the moment, do have a couple of drivers out on their warm-up. It's 5 minutes to get themselves sorted out. Jaco Kutzer trying to battle his way through, figuring out what the BMW can do. Good to see him out there enjoying his time. Jan Engelbrecht out there in the Vodafone colours. McLaren, good to see the man coming in from Cape Town. WJ Wilson also out on circuit, along with Stephen Catebread in the AlphaTauri colours. And the top tier motorsport, WJ Wilson, hopes to put himself into the top running. Gotta say, interesting times indeed, interesting times indeed. And I've got to say, this has turned into quite a wild ride. A massive welcome to you all. And also, a quick shout out to our sponsors going and being part of the show, as we've got SBR, Rhino Utility, Virtual Motorheads, Simulator Cave, and EG Evolved as our associate sponsors here in RaceFace.Pro. Massive shout out to them. But not also to forget, last season, first, second, and third of Pro and Pro-Am received a custom trophy. And this season is exactly the same. A custom trophy built for them and to put on their shells to make sure, hey, listen, I'm right there at the top. I've been finding it out, and a bit of a memento to have out on the circuit. That's always great to have, and a new feature. We did have one previously here at RaceFace.Pro, and a massive, massive shout out that came from SA Loop. Wonderful, wonderful to have them on board, and they brought out the original trophies, but now SBR and Rhino Utility giving us also a new custom set of trophies, which you can go and take a look at on our social media. If you want to get involved with the racing, head over to SimGrid for RaceFace.Pro. We've got ACC, LMU, and iRacing on show. Next week, we do have our prototype mixed class racing. Hypercars, LMP2s. It's going to be madness. It's going to be great. It's something you don't want to miss. But something you don't want to miss is our second heat, about to fire up in 10 seconds. And with our top 5 being reversed, this is a brilliant time for many of the drivers to think about what are they going to do. Run for the vault. One day I'll contend for the trophy. Well, Run, I think anytime you can. You are one of the quick drivers out there in ACC. And honestly, quite happy for seeing it. And we've also got the likes of Cameron Bastos saying that he ran out of fuel, landing up 2 litres short at the end. Needed a bit of work. Werner Skuman also saying just ran out of fuel. And that unfortunately does happen in these 30-minute races. You've got to try and think on your feet, work out what is the strategies. And this is a sprint. But next time, there's going to be a mandatory pit stop included. So that might change things up as our drivers start to take to the grid for Heat 2. So let's quickly run through the grid. As Werner Swart for the Alta Carbon Racing will start out in first place. Sharks Ever will hold down the fort in second place. So the front row going and being inverted. Sergei Sarkov in third place with Steven Vessels and George Rez, our winner of Heat 1, now in fifth place. Locke Pringle will start in 6th, along with Kakleko McCarley, Joshua Syme, Ben England, Jaco van Lith, Arno Kraus will be fighting his way through, looking to try and be at the top of the order, with Paul Herber in 12th place, the two teammates locking in that 11th and 12th. Daniel Gilding and Tim Penny will also follow each other through. Stephen Catebread, Cameron de Bastos, John Janssen van Rensburg, Gellerman Price, Danny Herber goes and runs their way through. As we got likes of Craig Starkey, Doug Herber, Etienne Swart, Jan Engelbrecht. A little bit further down the order, Liam Swinburne in 24th position. Robbie Teens, Sean Symes, W.J. Wilson, Werner Skuman, Noah Hendricks, Dino Machai, Eugene Berryman, Quinton Costa, Jonas Constantine, who was right up at the top, unfortunately not working out in his favour. All the way up from Romania, Jason Krinkers, the Rapid Panthers Racing, getting that little bit of turnaround, cost him time. Matthew Luke down in 35th position, Seb Guest in 36th. Jaco Kutzer will start 37th along with Willem Buerta, unfortunately timed coming in for Yuppie Sons. So as the drivers make their way through, we're going to quickly take a look to our results for our Heat 1. Just to remind us on this, George Reyes, Stephen Vessels, Sergei Sarkov laid out the top 3 and will look to fight it out again with Jacques Ever and Werner Swart. And looking at our Pro-Am results, it was Kakleko McCarley, Joshua Syme, Ben England, and Honor Kraus, along with Stephen Cakebread, rounding out the top 5 of our Pro-Am class. That being said, folks, we're done with Heat 1. We're on to Heat 2. We're on for a race. We're on for excitement. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're on for a race. This is going to be wild. This is going to be a proper chase. So, as we get ready to fight our way through, who is gonna rise to the top? Will the whistle of Steven Vessels come into play? Well, likes of George Reyes is going to make sure that might not happen. Werner Swan and Jacques Evert locking in the front row, and both looking to fight it out. They were brawling it out in Heat 1. They're hoping that they're going to do it all over again. Sergei Sarkov out there in the mix with the Aston Martin that has recently released here on iRacing, and is that fundamental unknown car to see where he's going to be. So, as our drivers make their way through, we're also going to show that Swart and Syme currently lead out the Pro-Ams, but it is going to be a nose-to-tail battle for the front row. Locked in, ready to go, wait for the green lights as the drivers make their way around, and the leader already putting his foot down as green, there goes Werner Swan ducking into the distance. Jacques Evert caught sleeping on the line. Stephen Vessels and Malcolm Pringle all closing in as well. Sergei Sarkov getting closed up as he tries to defend against the likes of George Reyes. That W2W Racing continues to brawl it out with Joshua Syme chasing down in 7th position. First in our Pro-Am. Joko van der Lith joining in there with Ben England, hoping to throw in the fight. Paul Herbel and the likes of Daniel Gilding that are fighting their way through will continue on as drivers keeping it nice and easy. A gentler start for a lot of our contenders. However, a couple of drivers unable to get across the line off the start will be trying to figure out their ways through. So Ben England continues on his drive. Paul Herbel going out a little bit wide and losing out a bit of time to Ben England and Daniel Gilding. Tim Penny will look to try and put the pressure on with his Chevrolet, and something that Paul Herbel knows all too well. Last season, he raced this Chev, and now seeing what he can do. Arno Kraus, a little bit further down, trying to make his way through, feeling the pressure of Van Rensburg on the back of him. Cameron de Bastos leapfrogged him completely, and now going on the defense of Van Rensburg, trying to hunt him down. The Acura NSX round the outside, door to door they go, late on the brakes. This is the likes of Debbie Herber, continues to put the pressure on as he holds that 13th place. Onno Kraus down into 3rd in class, but still putting the hammer down. He's got Yellowman Price to contend with, and Stephen Cakebread not too far behind. 30 minutes of racing, and drivers need to figure out what can they do to make it work. However, we are getting reports though, a couple of drivers landing up with a bit of a problem and putting a wheel off circuit. However, we also got Doe Herber that for some reason had a problem. Oh, Stephen Cakebread getting turned into the likes of Yellowman Price, and he's turned round. That was not ideal situation for both drivers. So quick replay onto that, late on the brakes, and just the slightest of contact from Cakebread up against the likes of Yellowman Price, and landed up with him stuck in the field, everyone darting left and right, and Stephen Cakebread put into the wall, and definitely hurting out there as well. So a couple of repair work needed for the drivers off the start. Dina Machai also having a bit of a problem out on the circuit, but it is the likes of Mr. Whistle himself leading up the charge. Werner Swart on the back of him, as we see the likes of Jacques Evert down the order from where he wanted to be. Got Malcolm Pringle up into 3rd. George Reyes now in 4th. W2W Racing Machine not backing out of the fight. Jacques Evert dealing with Sergei Sarkov. Joshua Syme out there trying to brawl it and make his way through. The Snails Pace Racing team definitely not showing a snail's pace, and a defending champion to see if it's all going to work out for him. Daniel Gilding and Jakob van der Lith still put on their charge. Tim Penny going around, and there's Paul Gerber fighting out against Ben England. Ben tried to hold the inside line, but Paul Gerber rather comfortable around the circuit. Got the hammer down early, floors it past Ben England, who's second in the Pro-Am. And he's got the likes of Jans van Rensburg, a pro driver, with Dammy Herbert fighting him through. Down the inside they go, the Sales Pace Racing team showing what they can do. Cameron Bastos trying to close up the gap as well for the Team Heat Together team. A little bit further down, Arno Kraus in third place. Oh, the Pro-Am going to be happy about his drive. Liam Swinburne a little bit further down will continue on his drive. Likes of WJ Wilson, Werner Skuman, who is trying to claw his way back up to the top. Was great in qualifying, however didn't work out in his favour this time around, as we do see Craig Starkey finding his way through. He's got the likes of Johan Engelbrecht onto the back of him. Jonas chasing down in the BMW, and Engelbrecht trying to look on the inside of Craig. That immediately caused the likes of Jonas to get a little bit of time, and right up against the back of that McLaren. Now it's about straight line, and this is where the McLarens have the advantage over majority of the cars, but it is going to be Jonas keeping the pressure on. Dives for the inside into turn one, and just gets on by side, and what a drive from both of them. Etienne Swat continues on the drive. Getting reports in, Jason Krinkers, however, landed up in a bit of a problem. Let's see, possibly, did we get it? Unfortunately, oh, bit of networking issues there, bit of contact, and he was sent off the circuit by one of our Porsches. Now, unfortunately, going and chucking him down the order, not what he wanted to have. Jason Krinkers will be trying to get himself up and going in a heartbeat, however. He doesn't want to lose out too much of the drive. The W2W landing up on the dirt. George Reyes getting around Malcolm Pringle. And now onto the attack for Werner Swart, trying to make it a back-to-back victory as they put the hammer down all the way through. I mean, this is turning into quite an exciting race, and each of the drivers thinking, what can they do to stay up at the top? What can they do to keep fighting it out in this incredible race, as it is some major fighting all the way through. Daniel Gilding, a pro driver, having an issue with Joshua Syme, keeping the pressure on and looking for any way to get on by. Behind them, they've got Jakob van der Lith and Tim Penny, who stays in for the fight. The Prestina Nomad team wanting to get a little bit closer to Gilding ahead and really trying to close up that gap. And I've got to say, great to see the drivers working to see where the advantages are going to go. But this time around, the racing rather relaxed as everyone's shaken that ring rust off and learnt that there is track limits that is going to hurt them out on this circuit. Craig Starkey losing out to Jonas, who gets the pass. Etienne Swat will now try and put the pressure on as they fight it out for third, fourth, and fifth in position for our Pro-Am class. Liam Swinburne down in 21st position and 16th overall. Goes for the send on the inside to get past Etienne. Dives for it, and that is one car that's turned around. That was one of our Aston Martins. That is not looking good out there. Now that is Ben England. Ben England running into a bit of a problem and got turned round. What on earth happened to Ben England? We're going to see if we can possibly get an understanding what happened there. So quick flashback. And this is going to be dive into the corner. In through the right-hander. Oh, the rear just lit up, and that's all she wrote. Held his brakes like a champ, rolled forward so he gets away from the apex to preserve the car, but had to wait for the entirety of the field to come on by, and that threw him down into 34th position and out of fighting chance. Not exactly how he wants his race to go. Further up, George Reyes and Stephen Vessels continue on their triumphant run as they had in race one. Vessels sitting with a 129.20. Reyes in second place. Werner Swart hanging in the mix. He's not out of this as yet. He's holding third place and looking for it to work out in his favor. Malcolm Pringle stays in for the fight as well. Oh, 2 wheels onto the dirt, and having some of the marbles kick up underneath him makes grip a little bit less for the drivers to contend with. Sergei Sarkov opens up the gap to Jacques Ever. But we do have the battle going on a little bit further down. Jaco van der Lith in the BMW dealing with Tim Penny and Paul Gerber. The team Tryhard Racing now looks to fight it out. Tim Penny looking to put the impact in to get past Jaco van der Lith. Well, I had a bit of a chat to Paul Gerber. He said by 8 o'clock, kids in bed, 8:30, he's racing. And that is how close he has to plan his time to be in the fight. So far, doing a very, very good job to hold that top 10 and to continue the fight on as our pros all continue on the charge. A little bit further down, it is the likes of Constantine, who is out in first place of the Pro-Ams. Done a stellar job to get that climb back up through the order. Arno Kraus down into second. Craig Starkey down into third. And Etienne Swart, what on earth happened as Joshua Simon way down the order in 6th place? He's not going to be too happy about that one. He's got Yellow Grace trying to chase him down, but 2 different classes. Matthew J. Luke, haven't spoken much about him. United States driver. Well, let's talk about the elephant in the room here, the Fury Racing, having a nose missing off the front of his car as he battles it out with Liam Swinburne. That is not how Aston Martin's meant to look like, but he is fighting through the damage and holds 5th in class, and he's fighting out against Liam Swinburne, who knows a little bit about having a damaged nose, and he won. Well, he too, a little bit of a different story as they follow each other through. It's a great see. Drivers all stepping up and making their moves. Etienne Swart dealing with Cameron de Bastos at the moment. Swart focusing on his drive, currently holding 4th place. Doesn't want to lose out the time as Craig Starkey will be his target. Craig holding on to 3rd place in the Pro-Ams. Looks to stretch open the gap a little bit more. And Arno Kraus in 2nd is just smiling at this little battle. He sees it in his mirrors, saying not going to be involved. He's going to hope it keeps going. Etienne Swart tried to look for the inside, didn't work out in his favor. Lost that little bit of drive. Craig Sarkey got the run, and that forced Cameron de Bastos to come off the gas a little bit and brought Johan Engelbrecht back into the fray. So Johan now continuing on the charge. Robbie T is into pit lane, getting some work done on his car, and will be scratching his head to try and make up for the time. Battles up and down through the field. Swart tried to get the pass. Unfortunately, he lost out to Cameron de Bastos. Now going to try and utilize the tow. Cameron de Bastos seeing an opportunity to get past the likes of Starkey over here. But Craig has got Arno Kraus now in view. They're going to chase each other down, see what's going to be the big impact. And will the Pro land up, switching up the Pro-Ams? Tim Penny and Jaco van der Lith still fight it out between one another. They got Paul Gerber hanging on to the coattails at the moment, waiting for an opportunity, and there is actually one starting to build up as Paul Gerber goes through the gears. The mighty Mercedes, incredibly quick on the straight line, is rather nimble through the corners as he tries to bring it back. It's going to be a tough fight, however, on the way through, so always gonna have to think about the big moves here. How can you move forward? What is the game plan to stay at the top of the order? Many of these drivers know that you really have to lean in for the pressure here. Paul Gerber keeps it all onto the back of Tim Penny, but likes of Van Rensburg trying to close up the gap behind him. Werner Skurman and Danny Herber battle each other out. The Sales Pace Racing team not going to back down from the Pandacity Esports team as Werner Skurman laid on the brakes, chucks it in to see it work out in his favor. WJ Wilson will hope to continue on the drive. He's in 14th position. Jonas team still leads out the Pro-Ams as he opens up the gap even further to the likes of the rest. Jan Engelbrecht finding it out. He gets in the middle of Matthew J. Luke, who's got that front end aero damage, and now Matthew has the opportunity to utilize the tow to bring him a little bit closer to Liam Swinburne. However, Matthew is 5th place of the Pro-Ams. And, well, he's taking the fight to the pros. And Ilbrick really leaning onto him there, saying, listen, you're not going to get by this easy. And fight him out tooth and nail. Liam Swinburne's going to be rather happy on that one. So Ilbrick comes off the gas, lets the likes of Matthew go out wide, lose out a little bit of time. Liam Swinburne going and seeing how this is turning out. And a big mistake coming in for our BMW, Etienne Swart, as he gets swallowed up down the field, down into fourth, down into fifth, as Matthew sweeps across the nose, gets the pass done, and Etienne Swart, from a very good position in third place, now loses out the drive and will be scratching his head on the way through. No change up in the front for our Pro-Am as they continue nose to tail. The W2W Racing unable to close up that gap just as yet. Tim Penny on to the back of Jaco van der Lith. 7th, 8th, and 9th still finding out, and the likes of Van Rensburg joining into the fray, along with Sergei Sarkov and Werner Skuman. They are in the mix there. Don't count them out just as yet. They're hoping to make a bit of an impact as they see the fight continue up ahead. Marbles around the circuit, making grip a little less fun to contend with, and everyone needing to focus on their charge. How are they going to make their way through? And who is going to be running at the top end of the field? Some proper fighting, some proper chasing on the way through. Always great to see drivers focusing on the charge, on where they need to be. Matthew J. Luke and Liam Swinburne, unfortunately, both getting shown the black flag and will be having to do a drive-through penalty. That's going to swap things up a little bit, as there is a big problem. Swinburne into the wall, damage on the back of his car, and that has just absolutely nuked his chances of fighting in for the top 10. Not how you want to have it happen. Stephen Cakebread continues to find it out with Noah Hendricks a little bit further back. Sean Symes continuing with a bit of damage. You can see out there with the Aston Martin. Not going to be happy with that. Definitely with the MetaQuest 3 that he utilizes. Well, he needs to just lean a little bit further and see that he's missing a nose. Or the rest of the team will be saying, hey, listen, buddy, Aero's not quite what you want it to be. Out there in the South African flag, showing some support to the country. Craig Starkey in for a fight as Seb Guest tries to make his way through. Guest looks for the inside into turn 3, does get it done, and stops on the apex, and that forces Craig to come off the gas. Joshua now sees the fight. Matthew J. Luke, also with the flag, needs to get into pit lane. As we jump on board with Stephen Vessels, heading up into turn 1, going to be happy on his drive. You can see George Reyes down in second place, hopes to try and close up the gap, sets the fastest lap time in the race, 1:28.80. Stephen Vessels 1:28.9. So slowly but surely closing up that gap, becoming a bit more of a threat. Malcolm Pringle trying to go a little bit harder as Werner Swart Shocks ever trying to come back at him. Daniel Gilding out there with Jaco van der Lith trying to make it all work out in his favor. Does run out a little bit wide. Does see a little bit of a difficult time on the way through. Always a tough race here at the beautiful track of Red Bull Ring, where it's a lot of flat out straight to make it work. On across, gives up the position to Matthew J. Lukes, who did have the drive up the hill, despite damage to the nose, is still putting in the good lap times. A 1:32.89, which was his personal best for the race. On across with a 1:30.58. He did tap off, not to get caught out in a bit of a problem. Matthew up into second place. Yanas up into first. So big impacts here. Drivers trying to figure out what is going to be the game plan. How are they going to move forward in this championship? What is the drivers needing to do to make sure they lead out at the top of the order? It's always a tough time out here, and always a difficult time for drivers to really put the impact in. And how are they going to make it work out in their favor as we battle our way on towards the charge? As we see the dive in for Yanas, he gets up ahead. and tries to pull away from Robbie Teens, who's still out there doing a great job to make his way through. A driver that has not given up and through the years, really battled time and time again, but has not given up. Jean Jansford Rensburg, unfortunately, with a landed up of a black flag, needing to do a drive through. Matthew J. Luke goes into pit. Steven Vessels, along with George Reyes, Malcolm Pringle, holds out in third place. Werner Swart locks in that fourth place with Jacques Everett trying to chase him down in fifth. Daniel Gilding, Jaco van der Lift, Tim Penny, and Paul Herber still continue on the charge with one another, and they continue their battle. That being said, let's quickly take a look at some of the classes, as it's Jonas Constantine out in first place for the Pro-Am, Arno Kraus and Etienne Swart locking out our top three for the Pro-Am. Werner Swart going and trying to make his way through, but it is Steven Vessels, Mr. Whistle himself, out there in first place. George Reyes in second, and Malcolm Pringle holds the third place spot. 75 points for first place, and we go down from there. By the end of this race, we'll have a provisional understanding of who's leading out the championship for the drivers, and that is going to make a big difference in their head, because they will only be able to think about racing again, well, when it comes in at the, not next week, but the following week. So Steven losing out a little bit of drive. He does get around one of our Mercs. He just mines out of the way. I think that might have been the likes of Yuppie Simons. Yes, it is. Yuppie Simons back in. Now, this is an interesting fact. Yuppie Simons missed out race 1 due to some mechanical failure, but race 2, he's back in, and he's 8 positions up from where he started and continues on the drive. So very good to see him out there. 31st position, still fighting it out to make it work. Liam Swinburne into the pits, Jaco Kutzer into the pits, John Jensven Rensburg coming out of pit lane to try and keep the drive up. A little bit of a fight going on. Tim Penny not breaking the toe to Paul Huber, who hangs on the back of him, trying to figure out what's going to work out. Stephen Cakebread a little bit further down as he battles up with Sean Symes. And Sean up on the inside, and you can see the eyes wide on that helmet. Oh, bit of a turnaround. Sean into the back of Stephen Cakebread, and Cakebread into the wall. He loses a bit of time. Dino Machai says thank you very much. Cakebread, unfortunately, towed back to pits. Cakebread is towed back to pits, and that is absolutely gut-wrenching for the driver after such an effort. He really tried to make it work out in his favor, but unfortunately wasn't able to lock it down with that spin, needing to get towed back to the pits instead of getting back into the drivers and landing up with an issue. And that, unfortunately, does put to bed his chances of fighting up towards the top. So, really gut-wrenching blow coming into fray. Back down to a fight ongoing. Paul Huber on the outside, and a big lunge from Tim Penny as they fight it out for 8th and 9th position. That has now brought Werner Skuman a bit closer to see the fighting duo, and it's no give. Both looking for the whites in each other's eyes. Down into the corner, and it is going to be the pass for Tim Penny. Paul Huber tried to make it work, however, didn't work out in his favor, and now Werner Skuman comes back at him. Launches around the outside, not able to carry the momentum through there, and Werner Skuman now joins the fighting duo to make it a trio, saying, can I cut in here, boys? Matthew J continues on behind Noah Hendricks. Unfortunately, still with that damage to the Aston Martin, it's not too crucial that he needs to get into pit lane, but Craig Starkey getting a black flag, will have to serve drive-through penalty. Not what you want to have. 22 minutes race into this race. Werner Skuman gets it as well, as he needs to go through pit lane. Can you believe it? Right towards the end of the race, we're starting to see those track limits becoming a little bit more abusive, and drivers starting to feel the pain in trying to keep going. And it's now focusing on the charge. Danny Huber dealing with the likes of W.J. Wilson, who hangs on the tail and looks to try and focus on his charge at the moment. late on the brakes for Werner Skuman into turn 3 as he crawls all over the back of Paul Gerber. These two have battled it out season after season. Paul knows Werner very, very well from across multiple sims and knows how to defend against the Panacity team. As we do see Tim Perry now starting, try to get his way through. So Tim hoping that he can just open up that gap a little bit more. Paul Gerber continues on the charge, but I think Werner Skuman is actually just coming off the gas. It's like, listen, I've got a problem here. I'm going to rather wait it out, but make a mistake, I'm going to go for it. I can't lose momentum because this is now crucial to where am I going to sit at the end of the race. So I've got to keep the hammer down in the Porsche. He's just trying to assist the team trial driver of Paul Gerber to catch up to Tim as he dives in through pit lane. Rez trying to get a little bit closer, 2.6 to Steven Vessels as he continues on the drive. Great to see so many drivers still putting in the effort. Craig Starkey, Jaco Kutzer, all in through pit lane and now trying to get themselves going. Unfortunately, Kutzer, who is now parked and out of the race, will be really hurting there. Stephen Cakebread also going and looking like he is out of the race. Quinton Costa maybe sitting out of it. There's Quinton and Cakebread also. No, Cakebread unfortunately out of the race. So Quinton, part of our last runners, as we see Jaco Kutzer, Craig Starkey and Eugene Berryman getting the flags as well. A number of drivers taking a bit of an impact here and will be losing a bit of time. Tim Penny losing out to Paul Gerber. Bit of a maneuver there, and unfortunately we just missed it. I'm going to try and see if we can pick it back up. See exactly how that pass happened. To see how Tim managed to lose out the position for P8. Here we go. Back to the replay. Up on the inside was Tim Penny, around the outside, and it's a drag race that went on that caused the likes of Paul Gerber to get the run. Swaps across the nose. Defensive inside line, and that was all she wrote for Tim, and drops down the order, and our driver leading back up towards the top. So good racing out there. Still lots and lots of work happening. Unfortunately, bad things starting to go wrong. George Reyes up in what was second place, now down into third. And Reyes, unfortunately, going and dropping down the order quite a bit. He's in third place and on to the back of Malcolm Pringle, but from a victory to a defeat right now as he tries to figure out what can be done to reclaim some of the positions. What does he need to do to stay in for the fight as our drivers continue on the charge? George looks up on the inside. He does get it over Malcolm Pringle, but only just. The BMW driver trying to stay into the battle, doing everything he can. Yanas keeping on the back of Wilson, just ahead of him. And Wilson dealing with Danny Herber at the moment. The South Pace Racing team still putting in a consistent effort. Etienne Swart running second of our Pro-Am, and Arno Kraus running third in our Pro-Am as it stands. So Joshua Syme trying to close up the gap behind him to try and take that third place. So still lots and lots of time coming in. Jesse Crickers, however, unfortunately got a black flag. He's going to have to do a drive-through, and not what you want to have for the driver. Unfortunately, not what the Rapid Panthers Racing wants to have. And Crinkers will be coming back in to the round 2 with a lot more fire underneath him, as he's still fighting out there for the likes of 17th position overall, 15th in class. He does try and look around the outside of Jan Ingebrigt. He does swing in to get into pit lane. Drivers trying to figure out what can they do in the final couple of minutes. The dying minutes left of this race. It's all open for drivers to make the move. Danny Herbert fighting out as Jonas up on the inside. Constantine going to try and brake on the inside. The BMW is mighty on the brakes. Can he get it done? Dives for the inside line. He does get ahead of Danny Herbert, and now has his eyes firmly set on pro driver likes of WJ Wilson. So Demi really going and losing out a little bit there, as it's two different classes. Constantine is a Pro-Am driver that's just gone in the middle of the two pros, and now will be trying to figure out how is this going to work out in his favor. But don't count out Danny Heures as yet, as he's in the tow with that Aston Martin, trying to go late on the brakes, see if he could get that little bit closer. Yellerman Press coming out and fighting. He's onto the back of the German of Krinkers, who's just done a drive-through and will continue to keep the pressure on. Cameron Bastos trying to make up a bit of time, does see Joshua Syme put a wheel off into the dirt and look to try and close up the gap on the Sales Pace Racing. Nose to tail, Demi now trying to focus on how can he get past Constantine at the moment, who's got WJ Wilson ahead of him and continues to fight it out. But we are getting into the closing stages of the race. Steven Vessels is going to be smiling ear to ear on this one as he continues to make his way through. Doesn't want to get caught by the back markers though. Doesn't want to lose too much time as he does fight it out, hoping for just any advantage to play out in his favor here. And I think he's got Dino Machai ahead of him, as we do get a little bit of problems coming in as one more lap to go for our leader. But Eugene Berryman landing up with a bit of a problem. Let's quickly take a look. Robbie Teens is in the Ferrari. Eugene Berryman in the Porsche goes for the inside line, and Etienne Swat around the outside. Oh, contact, second contact. That is damage to Etienne Swat and Eugene Berryman. What a turn of events there for our drivers, and a definite knock down the run. But let's talk about fifth place over here, because this is Kakaleko Makali, who's out fifth in Pro-Am, fighting out against, trying to close up to Noah Hendricks. And with Joshua Syme not too far away, Noah gets ahead. So Kakaleko Makali, first time out here in iRacing and RaceFace.Pro, and I stand to be corrected on that one, sitting with a top 5 and still continues to put the pressure on to move forward, which is great to see drivers learning the skill, trying to figure out what is going to be the big one. I mean, this is going to be a wild run. However, for the likes of George Reyes, I think it is all over for his hope to get the win here at Red Bull Ring, because round the last corner, here we go, Steven Vessels will take the checkered flag and whistle the tune of victory, as the CSA driver will be smiling ear to ear on that one. He got ahead, and honestly, well done to George Reyes on the reverse. He started from 5th, he got 2nd place. W2W Racing gonna be happy with that one. They take 2nd place, still fighting out for the points. Malcolm Pringle will come across the line in 3rd place. Werner Swart comes across with Jacques Ever right on his tail. Daniel Gilding, Jaco van der Lift trying to hold back Paul Gerber, and he will have done it. Holds on 7th, Paul Gerber in 8th. 9th place goes to Tim Penny. WJ Wilson comes across in 10th. First cross line for our Pro-Am is Jonas Constantine. Yes, he's going to be smiling ear to ear on that one. 2nd place will be, at the moment, Etienne Swart for our Pro-Am. And what a stellar run for Etienne Swart, as he will be a great charge there. And Arno Kraus will be taking 3rd in the Pro-Am for this heat, and standing on the podium yet again. Here comes Arno Kraus. Well done to take that 3rd place. What a race. What a mental race. And what a time. A race that has definitely changed out for it all. 4th place goes to Joshua Syme, our defending champion. He needs to go back to the drawing books there. Kakaleko Makali, Sean Symes in 6th for our Pro-Am. 7th, Dino Machai. But man, oh man, what a run. What a time. What excitement. Whew, if that hasn't put you out of breath, I don't know what will, as we go and take a look at the results for our Pro-Am. We're just waiting for the rest of the race to finish, as we have a number of drivers still just making their way around the circuit, and we'll be bringing in our results. But that was round 1 at the Red Bull Ring. 2 30-minute back-to-back races, and something completely different to what we've had in previous seasons, with the top 5 inverted in the second heat. It really threw the cat amongst the pigeons there, but some great racing indeed. 39 cars got to the grid to fight it out for the championship, the start of the championship, and honestly, it's been a wild one. Now we're going to attempt to try and get you the results, the provisional results for our drivers, as we still got a couple of drivers circulating. Werner Skuman, Cameron de Bastos, trying to make his way around. Dina Machai, along with William Swinburne, and Quinton Costa, taking a nice gentle drive on the way through. So we're just waiting for our results to come through. And there it is. Jonas Constantine takes the victory in our Pro-Am. Etienne Swart in second place. Anna Kraus in third, along with Joshua Syme. Kakleko Makali taking that 5th place. Sean Symes, along with Ben England. Dina Machai, Quinton Costa, along with Eugene Berryman, Matthew Luke, Craig Starkey, Stephen Cakebrake, Robbie Teens, Jaco Kutzer, and Doug Herber rounds out the pack of our Pro-Am. Looking back to our pros, it was a big change. Steven Whistle Vessels will hold the 1st place spot, 14 seconds ahead of George Reyes. Malcolm Pringle comes across in 3rd. Werner Swart, Sharks Ever, Daniel Gilding, Jaco van Lith, Paul Herbert, Tim Penny, W.J. Wilson, Dami Herber, Sergei Sarkov, Werner Skuman, Jan Engelbrecht, Seb Guest, Cameron de Bastos, Jason Krinkers, Janneman Price, Noah Hendricks, and Yuppie Simons going and rounding out that pack. A little bit further down is Leon Sundberg, not having an easy time out there with Jean van Rensburg in 22nd. 23rd, going to Willem Botha. What a race, folks, and what a stellar time here for the championship. And what a way to kick off the championship with a great thing. And remember, there is not only a Drivers' Championship for Pro and Pro-Am, we've got to also talk about the championship for our teams. That's going to put in a different race entirely. So we are going to get our drivers in to have a chat to them. I'm going to attempt to try and get the provisional standings for our drivers to give you a bit of a show on the screen of where they are currently sitting in the points for each of our championships. So, taking a look over to our Pro Championship after 2 heats of racing. It is George Reyes on 150 points and Steven Whistle Vessels on 138 points. Sergei Sarkov sits in 3rd place on 128. Jacques Ever with 120 points. Werner Swart, is in 5th place. Malcolm Pringle, Jaco van Lith, Paul Herbert, Daniel Gilding, Tim Penny, Cameron de Bastos, Jean-Jans van Rensburg, Janneman Price, Dami Herber, Jan Engelbrecht, Liam Swinburne, W.J. Wilson, Noah Hendricks, and Jason Krinkers will round out the pack. Now, this is provisional, so take it with a grain of salt as we do. But for our Pro-Am, to give you a sense after this race, it is Kakleko Macaulay who had a good run out there and will be smiling on their efforts. Joshua Syme, Ben England, Honor Kraus, Stephen Cakebread, Craig Starkey, and it does look like our pin. I would say these points are a little bit confused of where they need to be. But these are all provisional. They're not the actual. And we look forward to seeing what the actual comes in a little bit next week for the racing. That being said, folks, we are just waiting for some of our drivers to come and join us up in the commentary box. Give us a bit of information of how the race went out there. A bit of breakdown of what they experienced in some phenomenal action out here at Red Bull Ring for round 1 of our race and all the exciting times that we had out on circuit for every single one of our drivers who looked to really put the impact here at a beautiful circuit in Austria, Red Bull Ring, and has really put on a phenomenal show and really had a great race. I've got to say, I had some fun with the commentary to make sure that we get it all out. And once again, massive thank you to out you in the virtual grandstands that was giving all the information, putting in all the support, and being part of the show. And always phenomenal to have you around, giving us all the exciting action that has gone through. So, that being said, let's see if we can get a couple of our drivers to come and have a chat to us. And we do have a couple of drivers to come and have a chat to us. And let's kick it off with our W2W driver, the likes of George Reyes, to come and have a chat to us. George Reyes, welcome to the commentary box. And wow, oh wow, for a W2W driver, honestly, a great debut here at RaceFace.Pro. How are you feeling after tonight?
Very, very tired. Oh my God, it was so tiring. And also the fact that I started fifth and then I went to sixth, I had to like find my way back, and that was kind of interesting.
Well, you really put in a hard effort out there. Track conditions were a bit on the warmer side. Talk us through the victory in round one. Were you feeling quite positive for the 30-minute that was happening in the round for Heat 2?
No, second place was very close by. I mean, he was quite fast as well, so I was just making sure I like keep a distance rather than him being like 0.1 second around behind me where he could just stay on the slipstream. So I was just like focusing on trying to get a gap first.
Well, it was still a good race out there. And looking on to the future, what's the game plan for you, considering the races mix from technical races of a double heat to enduros? What's the game plan for you and the team to move the car forward and fight for the championship?
My game plan right now is just go as fast as you can, I guess.
Absolutely wonderful. Well, before I let you go, here at RaceFace, we do have a tradition, and that is to let you have the floor to give a shout out to anyone, whether it be the admin team here, our amazing sponsors at RaceFace.Pro, to your team and family and friends, and most importantly, to everyone out there in the virtual grandstands.
I basically, Retribution is his name in Discord. I don't know who he is, but yeah, I contacted him yesterday to join the league or the day before that. He was very responsive and quick, so shout out to him.
Absolutely wonderful. Well, congratulations on fighting for the podium, and looking forward to seeing what you can do in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you. Take care.
The W2W driver, as they put themselves out on the top. And I've got to say, it's a great, great run. That being said, we got to bring in our pro driver that also had a brilliant run out there. We've got the likes of Steven Vessels to come and have a chat to us. Steven, welcome to the commentary box. And man, if I've just got to say, people were whistling on the side there for you as you whistled past with your Ferrari. How are you feeling after this race? I mean, Heat 1 didn't quite go to plan. You were on the chase, and then suddenly Heat 2, you were leading by a country mile, but it wasn't an easy fight off the start.
Yeah, how's that, man? Race 1 was... I understood the rules a bit wrong. I thought we were going to start on green. So I lost a bit out in the jump there. I had to fight with P3 a little bit. But Jorge was just too quick for me in race 1, and I didn't quite put the laps together. I could match him on random laps, but not consistently. And then, yeah, race 2, I think I got a better start than him. Some of the guys were a bit hesitant, so race 2 was the opposite. I got a better start, I got ahead, and then I maintained, pretty much had to do perfect laps every lap, and I maintained the gap around about 3 seconds. It came down to about 2.5, and then I got it back up to 2.7. So I got into a nice rhythm, and then I lost a little bit of time with a back marker. He got up to about 2.3, then again 2.5, run about there, but then he made a mistake, and after that I could just cruise home. But yeah, he kept me honest. I had to keep that car in line while pushing. It was like quali laps or every lap. It was great.
And with the race being a back-to-back 30-minute with a 5-minute in between. Did you feel that there was time to take that breather to go and get yourself ready for the next race, or was it lock in, get focused, and go for the win?
Honestly, in practice, I went faster than I did in both races. So I kind of just went, well, race 1 wasn't great. I didn't know what position we're going to start in race 2. I'm not quite sure how the reverse grid works. If it's everybody, obviously not everyone. I mean, it seemed a bit strange where we started. So I don't know if it's a luck of the draw or whatever. But yeah, when I spotted my start, I was like, okay, cool, let's see what happens. Jorge had the pace on me, so if he started next to me, it would have been difficult. I managed to get away, and yeah, from that point, just head down and focus,
Well, absolutely great stuff indeed. Well, Stephen, before I let you go and whistle the tune of victory out there, anything you want to say to the team, to the drivers, to everyone that was out there, the sponsors, to your family and friends, and most importantly, those in the virtual grandstands, including your own teammate that dropped you in Heat 1?
My own teammate, which one?
Yuppie.
Because Wesley was supposed to race, but his PC literally wouldn't boot up an hour before the race. Like it completely crashed. He had stripped CPUs out and RAM out and everything, so that was a big mess up. And I don't know, Yoppie dropped race 1, but I see he was back race 2. But yeah, big thanks to organizers. This is my first race here, so it was good fun. I enjoyed it. Formats are interesting, lots of different formats. So yeah, cool. I'll go watch a bit of the stream later. So thanks for streaming, thanks for the organizers, and yeah, thanks for the guys on track. It was good fun battling, racing. Yeah, I look forward to the next one.
Absolutely wonderful. Stephen Wessels with a stellar run for the CSA team. That being said, we've got our Pro-Am drivers come and have a chat to us. We've got winner of Heat 2, didn't have the best in Heat 1. We got the likes of Jonas Constantine. Jonas Constantine, welcome to the commentary box. And wow, oh wow, what a race. I mean, Heat 1 didn't quite go to plan. Let's start there. What happened in Heat 1?
So essentially, if you've seen it, we were like racing very close to each other, you know, like P1 and P2 had the advantage. They like didn't have any issues. But P3, P4, P5, P6, P7, we were all back racing. I had a kind of a, you know, a door bang with the Porsche. I think it was Warner. And it gave me damage to the rear. And after that, just to, you know, to like add salt to the wound, I also had issues with my wheel. It wouldn't shift at all. Like I was stuck in third gear. I don't know if you've seen it. So yeah.
Well, it was still a great drive. Heat 2 turned into your favor. A victory out there, fighting for the top 10. Got 11th overall, right behind WJ Wilson and Tim Perry. Do you feel the BMW has got the legs to fight out towards the sharp end of the field?
Of course. It's one of the best all-rounder cars in iRacing. You've got the stability. You've also got the straight line speed. It doesn't suffer from that as well. You've got pretty good turn. Some people don't like it because, you know, it drives like a boat. In my opinion, it doesn't, especially with a good setup. So, yeah, I think it has the potential to even fight like the pro class. That's a lot of track in the calendar.
Well, it was absolutely great to see you there and really putting in the effort, fighting your way to the top. What's the game plan heading into the rest of the season? Because you've got the target on your back. You've got that I'm quick in the Pro-Am field and trying to then contend with the likes of like Joshua Syme, the likes of Etienne Swart, Arno Kraus, all of them coming for that BMW.
Let's try not to be too fast with the BMW to not get moved to the pro class. I'm just kidding, of course. If they have to move me, then they can move me. But so essentially.
Well, absolutely great stuff. Well, before I let you go, this is your first time in the commentary box here at RaceFace.Pro. Anyone you want to say thank you to out there in the virtual grandstands, team drivers, sponsors, the whole works, The floor's yours.
Well, it's gonna sound kind of cringy, but I want to say thank you to my dad. He's the person that supports me the most through this. He's been here with me from day one, and I want to make out of this kind of a, well, not career, but something in real life, So yeah, he's supporting me, buying the truck, buying the cars, helping me with the Coach Dave subscription as well. So yeah, I think he's
Well,
the
absolutely.
person that's helped me the most through this, and
Well, I think you put a big smile on your dad's face with your effort here tonight at RaceFace.Pro,
Yeah,
really making a name. So congratulations.
I just want to say this, if it wasn't for him, I would have probably couldn't hit one, but he kind of said, okay, come on, keep going. The wheel doesn't matter, the car doesn't matter. People can punch you, they can do whatever, keep going, keep trying, and yeah.
There's an old saying: if you see the green, you got to see the checkered. And it's good to hear that Dad's got the same motto in mind. Well, Jonas, thank you so much for joining us here tonight. We look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you. Well, yeah, we'll see each other. Hopefully, still in the commentary box.
Absolutely. Jonas Constantine going and putting on a phenomenal show. Really, really fought it out there. Absolutely wonderful to have a chat to him. And, we still got a number of drivers to have a chat to out here in the commentary box. And let's go back to our pro-ams with Joshua Syme. Joshua, welcome back to the commentary box. And wow, oh wow. Let's talk about the race, because it was up and down for you. Some proper door-to-door battles out there, stuck in the mid-pack where it was all going a little bit south, but you managed to bring it back. How are you feeling?
Yeah, good after the first race. Is it Cat Lego? I don't know how to pronounce their name, but they were rapid in that first race and really struggled to sort of keep up towards the end. And then that second race was just stupid mistakes from myself, just spinning out at turn one and then down that right-hander going down the hill, just really messed everything up. And yeah, no one to blame but myself.
Well, regardless of it, you actually did a stellar job out there and really put in a fight to get into the points. Taking a look at the championship, there is a lot going on. How are you feeling with new drivers to the grid in the class, as well as being in a brand new car, the Aston Martin, out on iRacing?
Yeah, so I think for the championship fight, it's just a case of sort of sizing everyone up that's joined the league, because you kind of know how the other guys drive. So it's sort of getting an idea of how they like to drive and where they're maybe going to descend it on you. The Aston, I like the Aston in the corners, but it is so slow in a straight line. So yeah, Le Mans will be an interesting place to go to with that.
It's always an interesting race indeed. Well, before we let you go and enjoy the celebrations, because man, oh man, you and the team have definitely earned it. I've got to say, cars are looking beautiful. Well done on that one. But anything you want to say to any of the sponsors, to the drivers, the teams, or even to the people out there at home, and most importantly, the virtual grandstands full of amazing petrol heads?
Yeah, just thanks to the sponsors as always. Sponsoring the league's a great way to promoting it and just building it up. The league's sort of growing over the last couple of seasons that I've been part of it. It's been really good to see. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing out the rest of the season.
Absolutely wonderful. Joshua, thank you so much for joining us, and we're looking forward to seeing you back here on the grid and hopefully a little bit further up the order.
Yeah, thank you.
Joshua Syme from Snail's Pace Racing, putting on a beautiful show and giving a bit out there. Well, that being said, we do have a couple of people out to have a chat to. The race organizers, believe it or not, they were out there on the track as well, but who went and came up with this weird concoction of a format. And we're going to bring in the likes of Liam Swinburne. Liam, welcome to the commentary box. Not quite the race you wanted to have, missing a lot of car parts. But that being said, 39 cars on the grid, back-to-back 30-minute races, new format, a inverted grid, new names, new cars. It just seemed like the pot was full of incredible action up and down through the field.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just having a look back, there were fights all across the grid, which was our idea. I mean, Cameron will elaborate more, I hope. But yeah, the new format's working really well. There's constant battles, no matter where you are on track, unless you're like me and you end up a lap down. But yeah, no, really good racing. Really, really enjoyed it. It was fun.
Well, it was some great racing out there. And for those that at home were wondering about having all these unique formats coming in to really make things exciting for the drivers, is there a little bit that we can give out to those in the grandstands that are cheering in and watching, wanting to be a part of all the action?
But we can, but should we? Or
That
should
is a
I
very-
just leave it with there's 2 other formats that haven't been seen yet?
So
That could throw a real spanner in the works for certain drivers.
So it's all about keeping an eye on that sim grid page. Absolutely wonderful. Liam, anything you want to say to the virtual grandstands before we let you go?
Other than just thank you all for coming out tonight and showing the support. It means a lot to us as the team of RaceFace, and I know it means a lot to the drivers. So thank you very much for coming out, and thank you to our sponsors, because without them, this would be a lot more difficult.
Absolutely wonderful stuff. Liam Swinburne coming and having a chat to us. And we're going to bring in 2 more before we close out the night. 2 drivers joining us here, and 2 of the organizers that have been frantically working in the background with Liam Swinburne, Cameron Bastos and Jacques Ever. Cameron, Jacques, welcome to the commentary box. What a way to kick off the racing season, and what a grid. 39 cars taking to Red Bull Ring, nose-to-tail battles, up and down through the order, pro-ams and pros mixing wheels and seeing who's going to take the fight to the sharp end of the field. We're going to kick it off with the Team SBR driver, Jacques Ever, and also Rhino Utility. Jacques, from a sponsor's point of view, this is a race that really shows the season's in for a fight.
No, definitely. How's it going, Stephen, and all the people in the grandstands? I think it was a very, very interesting and fun race, the first race. I mean, the battles, the overtaking, the defending, it was something crazy. And if that can be the season that we're looking out for, it's going to be amazing. I think we're going to have a very close championship at the end.
And you also, with keeping consistent times with yourself, you also got into some really great fights. Anything that you can pass on before fighting up towards the podium?
Yeah, well, I was very close tonight. I think I just lacked a little bit of pace, and I think when the tires got up to heat, I was a little bit faster, but there was always somebody ahead of me that was faster than me. So maybe in the next round out, I'll definitely give it some more and aim for that podium.
Oh, it's absolutely great stuff. And next one, Cameron Bastos. I mean, this was one that had you extremely nervous of putting it all together. How are you feeling now that race 1 is in the bags, done and dusted, double heat? That was a 30-minute, and having the drivers all putting on a phenomenal show here at Red Bull Ring.
Well, Steve, you mentioned it, and first of all, thank you to all the drivers out there, but also thank you to you, Steve, and everybody at TSC Production, really. Without you guys, this wouldn't have been possible, and also the team around me, myself and Jacques, just helping, making the decisions needed, and making stuff, just figuring out what's needed. I mean, we're going into blinding to this format. It's something new, wanting to bring entertainment, close action battles for not only the drivers on track to give them a target to chase, but also for the likes of the spectators to really enjoy it. And I think we hit the nail on the head, I believe, with this. I mean, from what I saw from the car, there was battles up and down the entire track. It was fun, some close battles, and some of the pro-am guys and the pros really mixing it. Put some of the pros really actually to the test. It put me to the test, especially after my few spins, to get back past those pro-am guys, because they pro-am, but that doesn't mean that they're slow. You can't just pull up your nose against them. They are phenomenally quick drivers. We have some phenomenal talent out there and some phenomenally new talent that has joined us. We saw that in preseason grading, but I do think that some of the Aston Martin drivers, we had phenomenal pace preseason, but I think we're pulling ourselves a 2022 new regulation for Mercedes, where we got pace and then suddenly we don't have pace anymore. But overall, I think we had some good battles across the field, and I'm grateful for all the drivers joining, and I'm eager to see how we're going to do at the rest of the season. I mean, we've got technical now down, so everybody should understand the technical. Now it's the endurance and feature races up ahead, and I'm eager to see how that's going to happen, especially with the longer races, the strategy being involved there.
Well, lots to come, lots to say. Before I let you guys go and enjoy, Sharks, ever anything you want to say to out there in the virtual grandstands for those listening in to all the action?
I just want to say thanks, Paul, that was here tonight to have a look at our race. And we're looking forward to see you guys at the next one. And as well, thanks to all our sponsors, man. It's a great honor to have you all on board. And thanks to Cam for all the hard work you put in. And thanks for you, Stephen. We appreciate everything you do.
Awesome stuff. Jacques Ever of Team SBR in that mighty Mustang. Cameron, any last words from your side?
Well, very much, Jock. I would thank you for everybody who joined. Thank you for everybody who's in the grandstand supporting and watching and cheering on. You guys make it fun for us as organizers and as well as production team to come forth with fresh ideas and really bring out, just put something fun forward. It was stressful to get it all together, but in the end, it's always great to see some great driving out there. And again, thank you for everybody supporting. And also, I'm going to steal a bit of Steve's script here. Can't wait to see everybody next week at our multi-class prototype championship, where it's LMP2s and then also GTP sharing the circuit. So I'm eager to see how that's going to be. I know if it's going to be the same as tonight, it's going to be absolutely brilliant.
Absolutely wonderful. And that's Cameron Bastos and Jacques Ever jumping in and giving us their thoughts. But you heard it coming up next week, folks. And for the rest of this week, on Wednesday, the RaceFace.Pro LMU Championship Season 2, Round 7, the second last round of the championship, heads to Monza. That's going to be starting at 8:10. Make sure you're right here, locked in for the action here at RaceFace.Pro. On Thursday, it's Round 7 at Donington Park for our Pro-Am, Gold and Silver ACC drivers for the EG Evolved RaceFace.Pro GT3 Championship Season 23. And EG Evolved has been really excited to crown the champion. First champion that EG has got in their history will be crowned. So, I mean, that is a big one for EG Evolved and our associate sponsors. Also, coming up this weekend, RaceFace.Pro Endurance Series Round 3 heads to Kyalami for the infamous, famous, and muchly anticipated race of the season, the Midrand 570 on the 27th of August, on the 27th of September. So make sure you are there to join in with all the fun and be a part of 9 and a bit hours of racing in ACC. Get your friends, get your team together, and come join us here at RaceFace.Pro. We want to see you guys out on the track. Also, next week, you heard it live here from Cameron Bastos, the RaceFace.Pro iRacing Multi-Class Prototype Challenge takes to the circuit. Round 1 at Sebring International Raceway, GTP, LMP2 in an upright battle, and you can join that out on SimGrid. So much is happening here at RaceFace.Pro. You don't want to miss a thing. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell now icon. Let us know who you're supporting in the race, who you keep an eye on. Keep an eye on all our social media as well. Massive shout out to our sponsors, SBR, Rhino Utility, Virtual Motorhead, Simulator Cave, EG Evolved, Simulator Rigs, and please go take a look at their social medias. Go look them up. There is some great specials being held by Simulator Cave, by EG Evolved, by Rhino Utility, keeping you with the lights on, and also Virtual Motorheads out on YouTube, giving you all the blow-by-blow talking about new gear getting released in South Africa. You don't want to miss a single one of that. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, from myself, Stephen Koenig, and the entire RaceFace team and the THT Productions, would like to say thank you very much to you all. Thank you very much for joining us and always being part of our amazing grandstands. That being said, it always comes down to the famous sentence that comes at the end. And it isn't good night. It is good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody.